Oh scrap, is it time for episode 5 of my Sewing Bee synopsis? See you in a bit. Hello. My name's Sam and welcome to my channel Sew That Sparkle with Sam, and today it's all about episode 5 of the Sewing Bee. So it's reduce, reuse, recycle week of the Sewing Bee this week, and I'm here to tell you all about what I thought of this week's episode. And as you can see, I am now dressed. So on a little personal note, I've not been feeling incredibly well this week, so apologies if this video is kind of a little bit broken up, because I may just have to do it in little sections for as long as I can kind of keep going, and I may have to keep stopping for a little rest. But I'm on the mend, and I've just been feeling a little bit under the weather, and it is also very hot today, so I may have to stop to just refresh myself. Now, Baby Sparkles will be here at the end with his review of last week's episode, and I'll pop that in at the end. So if you're missing a bit of Baby Sparkles, not to worry, he will be here at the end. So let's get on with episode 5. So I am wearing today very much, I always get inspired by Reduce, Reuse, Recycle week. It's my favourite week of Sewing Bee, and this is what I was inspired by on one of the seasons when they made tops out of tablecloths, and I made a top out of a tablecloth. I'll put a picture of my fall ensemble. So I'm wearing my tabletop. No, I'm not. I'm wearing my tablecloth top with a little pair of gingham shorts, and they are a self-drafted pair of shorts that I'm wearing with those. That I self-drafted and used a old Simplicity pattern as well, but I had the pattern and not the instructions, so me and Simplicity made friends, and we kind of came up with these little cute shorts. And this is the whole ensemble. As I said, it's very warm today, so it's perfect for the weather. And those shorts were made from a scrap of fabric left over from my painter's tote that I made from my lovely friend Luke, last year's still reigning queen of the Sewing Bee hive. And so I had a little bit of gingham left over. I didn't quite know what to do with it, so I made it into a pair of shorts. So I definitely, reused and reduced my waste of my painter's tote by using what I had left over to make myself a little pair of shorts. As always, we'll start with the pattern challenge. So the pattern challenge for this week was a zero waste jacket, and I love the idea of zero waste patterns, but do you know what, I don't really have that many zero waste patterns. It is something that I think that I might look into. Jess said something about buying a book, and I think the book came up. I was maybe I'll have a little look and see if any of you, if you fancy, in the comments sending me your favourite zero waste patterns, because that'll save me a bit of googling and that doom scrolling that you do to find some. If you send me your favourites, I would love that. But I really loved this week's pattern. It was a zero waste jacket. They described it as a workwear jacket with no fabric wasted. Now, before the challenge started, Jess, Orla, Yasmin, Kit and Dan were all admitted to wearing recycled parts of their outfit was recycled, and that they've done lots of recycling before. So I was really excited to see what they were going to do. I love, as you can see, I love a bit of recycling, but I don't necessarily use zero waste patterns. So this pattern called for a lot of maths. I think there was even a groan from just, oh no, maths. And it's one of those things, isn't it? Measure twice, cut once. We all know it, but do we do it? Not always, because you get lost in the moment and you just want to get your scissors in the fabric. So I thought this was a really tricky one, and it definitely would be a tricky one for me because I know measuring, I tend to, you know, plonk the pattern on, cut it out, let's go. I don't know whether I'm a careful measurer, but yeah, there we go. So I'm going to get my trusty iPad to help me out today because, as I said, I have been feeling not too well, so my forgetfulness is on level 100 at the moment. I'm trying to pop pictures up for you. So the first jacket was Kit's. Now, as soon as I saw Kit's, I was like, oh, Elmer the elephant. And the reason I thought Elmer the elephant is that I had a teacher friend at a school that I used to work with that every single World Book Day would wear it wasn't a jacket, it was a shirt, but it looked exactly the same and would come as Elmer the elephant. And as soon as I saw it, it reminded me of that job, and I really loved that job, so it made me laugh. And Kit was, as always, as cool as a cucumber through this challenge and just seemed to have it down, you know. Made an absolutely fantastic job of it. Buttons were all nicely placed, collar was all nicely done, and the top stitching, I think Esme said, was outstanding. So, you know, high praise indeed. Made a beautiful jacket, beautiful job. Love that one. And then there was Orla's. So Orla did something very brave. Very, very brave from Orla. Orla did contrasting top stitching. Now, top stitching threads, you know, there's lots of things that can go wrong. It's quite a risky thing to do, but I think she did a fantastic job. She had a black denim and then a pink, and it was pink and pink buttons. But it meant it made a really, really striking jacket. I think she did an absolutely fantastic job on it. It looked absolutely beautiful, and definitely the top stitched on the pockets made those pockets really pop out. I really enjoyed that. And then there was Stuart. Stuart used a heavy needle cord, like a heavy corduroy, not needle cord, apologies. And again, there was something about the way that the corduroy with the pocket flaps and the collar kind of, yeah, I thought it was really, really nice. It definitely said workwear jacket. And it was funny, of all of it just didn't feel like a zero waste pattern. It felt like very considered pattern, and I thought Stuart did a really good job of that. Then we're on to Gaynor. So Gaynor made a bright yellow jacket, and bless her heart, not quite sure how she did it, but the sleeves were far too long, and no one could quite figure out why the sleeves were far too long, because of course she had the same amount of fabric as everyone else because it was zero waste. So how she managed to do that is a mystery, but she did. So made me laugh. And then there was Dan made like a light denim. It looked to me a little chambray-ish. I don't know whether it was. I really liked Dan's fabric choice. But and Dan, oh, shocker from Dan. He was sewing over his pins last night. It was making me feel a little bit, I mean, I wasn't feeling great anyway, and it was making me feel a little unsteady. A lot of the bees sew over their pins. I don't know, what team are you on? Do you sew over your pins? I can't bring myself to do it. But yeah, so Dan's jacket was not quite finished, had no buttons, but it did look quite beautifully sewn. Yeah, so Yasmin's got a bit misaligned. Again, I think that it was the rushing of measuring the buttons. A lot of the bees struggled with this. It was another blue one. It was in a similar fabric to Dan's. It looked very nice on the mannequin, but there was something not quite right about it. It got a bit misaligned. Then there was Kaz. Kaz went for a lovely bright pink. So it looked absolutely stunning, and I just thought it was beautiful. What more have I got to say? The button spacing was slightly off. other than that, I would have worn that. Thought it was great. Absolutely fantastic. Now Jess. Oh, poor Jess. Jess did not have a good challenge this challenge. As I said before, measuring is the key when it comes to zero waste, and she just got her first line in the wrong place. Once you do that, you've done it. You know, nothing is going to work. But I'm gonna say Jess really impressed me, and what really impressed me was that she didn't give up. I think at that stage, when I had realised that I'd put that, I think I would have just had a little cry in the corner. I'm not quite sure I would have been able to rally. So well done, Jess. I think you're absolutely amazing for just keeping going. So yeah, it wasn't the perfect jacket. She just made a slightly smaller version. And you know what? I think she did a really, really good job of it. Obviously, it did come last in the pattern challenge because it wasn't what they were expecting. You know, Jess, you did a good job. I am proud of you. So yeah, so for the pattern challenge, they had Jess in 8th place, Gaynor in 7th, Dan was in 6th, Stuart in 5th, Kaz was 4th, Yasmin was 3rd, Orla's was 2nd, and Kit's was 1st. And that was the pattern challenge. So next was the transformation challenge, and this challenge was all about reusing tents that were left over at festivals. Now I know quite a lot about this firsthand, as if you have watched me regularly, you will know that I used to work for the Stephen Hawking Foundation, and I set up a little something with a friend of mine called Space Camps. I helped set up and run the programme for Stephen Hawking Foundation, and I was lucky enough to tour the Isle of Wight to do space education on the island, and they have an Isle of Wight festival and they have a lot of tents that get left behind, and so we managed to kind of get them and reuse them as part of the Space Camp programme. So yeah, but we did use them as tents. We didn't make them into astronauts or suits or anything like that. We just reused them as tents. So yeah, I am very aware of that is quite a big problem, the tents being left behind. So I was really pleased to see them being used, and to see them made up into festival outfits was super cute. And a lot of them reminded me of kind of like superhero outfits. I think a lot of, you know, as I think I've said before, a lot of the transformations, they remind me a lot of cosplay and superhero outfits. And I think that all of the bees were superheroes for transforming those tents. So yeah, I know that some people don't love the transformation challenge, but I love the creativity that it creates. So well done. I loved it. So yeah, and they all did very different things. So because obviously they all had a tent, they just had a tent, they had nothing else, and they all did absolutely fantastic creative things. So that was brilliant. First we have Yasmin, and on my notes it says Yasmin, Pink Power Ranger, saucy. So she had these kind of like X's covering the chesticle area, and it was, yeah, and it just reminded me of kind of Powerpuff Girls comes Pink Power Ranger vibes. I was there for it. It was absolutely fantastic. It was a top and skirt, and then I think that she tied it together so it was kind of top skirt into a dress. She used the mesh on the inside of the tent in quite an interesting way, which kind of gave coverage, but you could still see through, and I found that quite interesting, and I liked it. And then there was Kit's. So Kit kind of did a puffball dress, really clever, used lots of engineering techniques. So I think like the idea of gathering, but used the hardware to gather all of the skirt upwards, and it gave this really lovely kind of mushroomy effect. And Patrick and Esme were very impressed that they'd left the "do not cook in the tent" label inside, and I thought that that was ingenious, because of course, you know, you've made a dress out of a tent. Why not let people know that clever you made a dress out of a tent? So I thought that was great. I also really loved the little zip position. They didn't mention this on the show, but there was the zip position, kind of, it almost gave a little opening into the chesticle area, but it gave that really lovely shaping, which I really enjoyed. So I liked Kit's. It was fantastic. Now, Stuart's didn't score very highly, and I don't know why, because I was really drawn to it. I just thought it was really fun. Yeah, there were pockets that weren't pockets. Yeah, it was kind of, you know, a mix match muddle of lots of colours, but it was fun, and I just thought I really liked it aesthetically. I was really drawn to it. I think I was drawn to it because of the colours. I love a real contrasting colour. So yeah, I thought it was great, Stuart, but the judges did not. So Jess's I did really like the idea of Jess. She had this oversized hood, and again a puffy skirt. I think the judges had a really hard time with judging this one, because they were all good. There were just a few that were great, you know, and so it was quite difficult. But she definitely used her skills of what her favourite dresses are. So she put puffball sleeves and things on, and I love the creativity. Gaynors was quite interesting. I think she was the only one that did trousers, which was quite nice. Again, incorporated a hood. So, you know, obviously festivals that you get a lot of rain, it would have been ideal. It was like a brown stripes. I thought the way that she'd used the stripes and the actual structure of the tent was really nice. Orla's again was another superhero for me. It just gave me like Flash vibes. It had the waterproofing, the kind of plastic PVC part of the tent over the top of a bralette, and then it had like these pants. It was all taken off of the main structure of the dress outfit was a harness. It was a brilliant job. Really enjoyed that. Then this brings me on to Kaz's. I loved Kaz's, and I loved Kaz's for two main reasons. One, it had a wine pocket. She had me at wine pocket. And two, I mean, it was a ball gown made out of a tent. I mean, genius. There was a little criticism that it wasn't very colourful, but the tent you get is the tent you get. That was the colour of the tent. It was a great job. I thought it was fabulous. I really enjoyed that one. And I think I would wear that as well. And I think that's it for me. It's kind of, yeah, I just love it. I thought that was really, really great. And then this brings us on to Dan's. I mean, if you want a superhero tent costume, then just go to Dan, because no one can do it better. It was amazing. The construction, I love the bikini top. I love the fact that they had like chaps, little like peekaboo pants, full on cape. Again, the use of the PVC, but in a really interesting way. It was amazing. I loved it. I just thought it was absolutely spectacular. I really did. So, and that was leaving the scoring for the transformation challenge as Jess in 8th place, Stuart in 7th, Yasmin in 6th, 5th was Gaynor, 4th Orla, 3rd was Kit, 2nd was Kaz, and 1st was Dan. And yeah, I definitely agreed with that. I just thought fabulous. I really enjoyed the transformation challenge. So as I said before, reuse and recycle week of Sewing Bee has always been my favourite, but my favourite of all favourites has been, I think it was season 7, and it was the season with Raf, and Raf's reused jeans denim dress, the recycled denim dress. I'll pop a picture of it up here. It is one of my favourites of garments of all time because I just loved it. I thought it was, I know we're talking about series 11 now, but it's just one of those things that I was always really drawn to. Season 7 was the first season of Sewing Bee that I started sewing garments. So yeah, when I was watching, and you'll see when I talk about the garments, you'll see like I was just harping back to kind of those memories. So I just thought I'd share that with you because Ralph, wherever you are, I think you're amazing, and I still love that dress. And every time I see it, it pops up on Instagram every now and again. It just gives me a big hearty smile. So yeah. So let's talk about the made to measure. I noted that they said they only had 4.5 hours this week, which is a bit less than they normally have for the made to measure. Don't know why. I don't know whether they thought it was easier. It definitely wasn't. But yeah, so they had to raid the charity shop or friends' wardrobes or their own wardrobes, and basically transform those garments into a made to measure for an outfit for an occasion. And they said something about it could be any, a christening, a party, a dog's birthday party, a wedding, whatever you like. So I think it was just have an occasion in mind and make an outfit to match. So that was the idea. I will go back to my trusty iPad because I have some fantastic pictures here. So let's start with Stuart. So Stuart had his old dad's work shirt and a charity shop jacket. And I thought it was genius making a skirt from a jacket. And the thing that I loved about it the most is it still looked a little bit like a jacket. Now, it worked as a skirt. It was a perfectly wearable skirt. But it was the genius that you could look at it and think, well, that's a jacket, but it's a skirt. And I loved that. I also loved that he kept all of the features of the skirt into the top. So the sleeves still had the sleeve cuffs on, but they were straps. And it still had the original button plackets, but it was used in a different direction. And I really, really enjoyed Stuart's. I thought it was really nice. It wasn't quite as polished as some of the others, but I thought I'd really, really enjoyed that one. Then that brings us on to Kaz. So Kaz used her husband's old jeans and some other family jeans and an old jumpsuit to make hers. And, well, I just loved it. I think of all of the ones there, this is probably the one that I'm most likely to want to copy. You know me, I like a dungaree. I'm at home in a dungaree, and Kaz made these as a 60th party celebration outfit. And yeah, I think I could see me wearing a pair of denim dungarees made out of all my family jeans for my 60th party. So I think it was absolutely wonderful. But a little shout out to Kaz here, because I've done a few denim remakes and the cutting and the patchworking takes such a long time the fact that she did all of that and made an absolutely stunning pair of dungarees in 4.5 hours, I take my hat off to you. I actually don't know how you did it. I consider myself quite a speedy sewer. There's no way in the world I could have done that. I just think, wow. Wowzers, wowzers, wowzers. So Gaynor, we're going to go on to Gaynor now. Gaynor used an old dress that she had made a long time ago. In fact, I think she made it out of two of handmade dresses that she'd made a while ago. One was a very simple black and one was kind of a very busy brocadey kind of sparkly top. Gaynor struggled a little bit. Again, I think time is of the essence, and she managed to cut out one of the pieces wrong, which meant that when it looked beautiful, but when she constructed it, a few bits weren't fitting together in exactly the way that she wanted it. But I did think it looked absolutely beautiful. I've put that, oh yes, it was a dress that she'd made for a cruise that she went to Norway. So there you go. So her dress was for a family meal and it consisted of a top and a skirt. And I thought it was quite interesting to do a skirt. So a skirt is where it looks like a skirt at the front and it looks like shorts at the back. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. Then there was Jess. So Jess made hers from her mum's dental hygienist lab coat, which I thought was lovely, and also a make of her sister's. So it was a real family affair. Really love it when they use things that mean something, because then you can really see, I truly believe that you can see the love in the make when they make them from those things. And yes, so she made a kind of plunging V-neck top dress with a peplum, and then the peplum was all tied together with a ribbon, and then there was kind of a panelled gathered skirt. It did look very nice. Again, she just ran out of time. The finishing wasn't quite as good as it could have been, and some of the fitting wasn't quite right. But I did really enjoy it. But of course, Jess had had a bad week up until now, so she'd had 2 last places. So she really, really needed to pull everything she could out of the bag. And I was willing all the way to see if she could do enough. On to Orla. Orla made a lovely kind of tunic. She said it was a Christmas party outfit from her aunt's skirt that she'd inherited, and a set from her mum that she'd bought from a charity shop. I thought the colours went lovely together. I love the little fastening that she made. Yeah, I loved everything about it. I did think that she needs to have a Christmas with Dan, and Orla needs to wear her Christmas party outfit and Dan needs to wear his Hugh Hefner smoking jacket. Oh, what a pair they would be. And then that brings us on to Dan. So I love to dance because we have a bit of a tradition in our house of Christmas pyjamas. I tend to make everybody a pair of pyjamas, but before I was sewing, I'd always buy Christmas pyjamas. And of course, then what do you do with them afterwards? You know, particularly if you get something that means that Christmas, or what do you do with them? So he used a set of family Christmas pyjamas and he made them into a beautiful, beautiful dress. I don't know quite what magic jiggery pokery he did on the jersey. I didn't see him use any stabilizer of any weight, but he kind of like knotted and weaved and plaited it in, and it looked amazing, looked fabulous. And then he had this like halter neck skater style jersey dress at the end of it, but didn't look like a jersey dress, looked like an absolute party outfit. He also used a little bit of fake fur that he'd made for his mum, and he made it into a little muff, which finished the outfit off really beautifully. And again, something quite nice about bringing your family in. It just makes it, doesn't it? So then that brings us on to Yasmin. Yasmin used a summer dress and a pair of charity shop satin trousers, and the way that she used the satin with the cotton I thought was absolutely stunning. She popped satin godays in to make a little outfit for a was it an anniversary party? No, it was an engagement party, pardon me. And her model had a little veil, and yeah, it did look super. I'm going to say it again. I think Yasmin's a bit of a dark horse. I can see so many lovely things in the things that Yasmin makes. Some of her finishings weren't quite as up to her usual standards. Excuse me. But I thought it was an absolutely stunning job. I really enjoyed Yasmin's make. That brings us on to Kit. So Kit used denim from his friend's discarded jeans, and he made whenever I was looking at kits, I couldn't stop thinking about Raf's from season 7. It wasn't the same. Raf's had kind of a lot more kind of detail and design. But I loved the simplicity of Kit's. It was a really simple idea with the strips of fabric, and it looked absolutely fantastic on. It was kind of nice and twirly. There was a little bit of a fitting issue, but again, making that kind of thing in 4.5 hours, I thought it was really lovely. And he popped a original jeans pocket in the bottom. Not quite sure what you'd put in that pocket, but it was nice to see all of the jeans being used. So yeah, so that brought us to the end of the episode. So a few little things that happened in this week's episode was Sarah's jacket. It was amazing. If anyone knows how I can get my hands on a jacket like that, please let me know. It was amazing. Sarah also, because for the made to measure challenge, it was to make for an outfit. She did an outfit for a party. She decided that a good reason would be for a birthday party for your dogs. And it was obviously her dog's Mouse's birthday, so she sang Mouse Happy Birthday. That was fun. Amber was back, so which was fantastic. Amber is a sewing bee historian, and she told us all about the Make, Do and Mend campaign after the war, and that was really interesting as always. And I just think, yeah, bring Make, Do and Mend back. I mean, I think it is really. I think a lot more people think much more mindfully about using their clothes, but I found that really interesting. So that brings us on to outfit of the week. Outfit of the week was Dan, most deserved Dan. That was stunning. And going home this week was Jess. Oh, I kind of could see it in the water and it was making me sad, but unfortunately it was Jess's time to go home. And next week it is Kids Week. Hurrah, another one of my favourite. I don't really sew for children, but I do love Kids Week because I think you can really go mad on the kind of fun prints and everything that I love. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I hope that you enjoyed my little synopsis. I'm going to leave you now with my lovely son, Baby Sparkles, to let him tell you what he thought of last week's episode.
Hi everyone, it's Baby Sparkles. I'm back. Sorry about last week, I was super busy. But yeah, I've watched episode 3 and episode 4, so I've not watched last night's episode. But here's my takes and opinions on the last two, the one I missed and the one for last week. Kit showing that he's technically very impressive, winning the pattern challenges quite consistently. We've got Kaz being everyone's mum, which I think was expected. Just giving everyone a cuddle whenever they need it, which is nice. We've got, unfortunately, Glendora and Novello have gone. It's very upsetting, but the thing with Novello, she tried to take on Gainer's thing, and you just don't do that. You can't out Welsh Gainer. You think, okay, I'm going to put some Welsh dragons in, try and maybe get that Gainer. You can't do that when Gainer's sitting right there, who also in the Korean challenge made something that looks like a 50-year-old white woman from the UK would wear. It's brilliant. But yeah, Novello tried to out Wales Gainer and she paid for it. I did enjoy the Korean episode. I think that they did the right thing in bringing in an actual expert, and the upcycling from Taekwondo costumes was very cool. I liked that Dan just panicked and went, oh, okay, it needs to look K-pop. What do I do? Oh, just write K-pop on it. Perfect. Sorted. Done. Easy. Sometimes it is that simple. I really liked Orla's what's it called? Made to Measure. There you go. Orla's Made to Measure. I thought that was really cool, inspired by the flower. I think she was the only one that like really went for the brief and really sort of like clearly has experience with Korean culture more than the other sewers and just really went for it. Stu's nailing it, just, flying under the radar, consistently average. He's gonna win. It's amazing. I think I don't know what's happening next in yesterday's episode, but I think we're getting to the point now that it's the best of the best are staying in it. I think there are a couple more sewers that maybe aren't quite to the same level as the others that I think are going to go, but we're getting to the people that really know what they're doing, and I'm looking forward to it. So yeah, see you next week for my review of yesterday's episode.
Oh, he is a funny boy. Thanks very much. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe if you haven't already. It's lovely to see you here. I'll see you here again Wednesday 6 p.m. You take care of yourself. Don't forget to sparkle. Bye for now.
And don't forget, if you want to see me and Mum's amazing vlog, it drops Wednesday 6 p.m. Don't miss it.